Salutations. Patreon.com/Taylor Durden. $5 a month for 5 hours of content at least. I had to switch from the Starlink back to the mobile web. So yeah, another night, man. Sorry about getting out here late. I know it's basically Wednesday. So for a lot of people, it probably is a Wednesday to Sunday show. Because they probably catch it the next day anyway. Unless they're like in Europe or something. But yeah, very eventful day. So I had some things I had to do and kind of pushed everything back. But cool full moon vibes. And yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff happened, I guess, politically. And we can get into some of the stuff, how it ties in, I guess, to some typical lore as well. How we can tie that political jargon into the esoteric or whatever as well. So November 4th, it's an off election year, so it's not a midterm year. So you have is there any governor's races this year? I don't know. It might not be any governor's races, but I know it's. Matter of fact, let me just see if there's any governor's races. I don't think it is, though. I think only on even number of years is a governor's race. Oh, actually, yeah. No, in 2025, there are two major gubernatorial elections in the United States, New Jersey and Virginia. Both races resulted in Democrat victories. Yep. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the whole government shutdown thing. That's all. That's the only card they could play. So that's with and I don't mean, like, when I say they, I don't really mean like the left. I know people could just be like the left, and just like hand wave it away like this is just a left versus right issue. But I think it's just the uniparty thing, the balance of the scales of the uniparty, like balancing the wings of this uniparty bird. Like, you have a different apparatuses, I guess, from the one, uniparty. But like the left, they get to act like they're righteous and they want to feed people, but they're just using people, they're manipulating people and using them as like a chess piece, like a pawn. You know what I mean? To try to receive. They knew that the Republicans wouldn't cave on stopgap legislation to try to stuff in a bunch of healthcare things, especially for illegal immigrants. So I mean, they knew what it would do. They knew that it would cause a problem with food stamps and a problem with travel, with air traffic control. I mean, it was like a 4-hour shutdown of Newark Airport. It's one of the busiest airports on earth, and Phoenix Sky Harbor was shut down for 4 hours. Denver was shut down for 2 hours. So they knew that it would create issues with travel, and as we get closer to the holiday season, just the idea of people having less food and less ability to travel, just selling that idea kind of brought people out to the polls. They got the New York mayor's race that happened today. So you got these two gubernatorial races. They said Virginia? That means Youngkin lost? Right? Youngkin was the incumbent, I think, right? Yeah. Glenn Youngkin or whatever. He won in an off year, I think, under Biden. Because it's the same thing. Like, under Biden, let me see. When did Youngkin win governor? Glenn Youngkin won the Virginia gubernatorial election November 2nd, 2021. See, that was because the Biden had withdrew from Afghanistan at that point, and inflation was starting to hit crazily. So by that point, you had, and people felt like the election was stolen in 2020. So you had a bunch of people feeling like, oh, we got to rush the polls and try to put some stops, up against the left. So Virginia swung right in 2021, and now 4 years later they lost to a Democrat because you got a Republican Congress, Senate, and the Congress, Senate is part of the Congress, but the whole Congress is, the House and the Senate are both Republican majority, and then obviously the executive branch is Republican majority. So you had the political games there where they could just, they didn't do the things that they could have done. They could have done more to hedge against the SNAP benefits issue, to allocate money or move money around, not send money to fucking Israel or what have you, but they didn't do that because obviously they know like this is just a uniparty, and they just volley the ball back to each other, back and forth, and people, they take it seriously and get caught up in the melee, and we get divided and we hate each other. We hate strangers for no reason. So like, we think we have reason to hate them, but it's the same thing. So the right wing, they jumped on the grenade basically. They were like, oh well, this is the hill to die on. We don't want to give health care to illegal immigrants, so and that's why you're not getting your SNAP benefits. But the whole thing is like to ignite the left some more, because they had no momentum at all. The only momentum they had is the Free Palestine shit, and you've seen it on the campuses across the country. So because the left usually has the youth usually, so you had the Free Palestine stuff, and then the right leaned into the Israel shit, so it made it even worse. Gave the left even more political points and fuel. So when it comes to this shit, when it comes to the government shutdown, this political football game, this illusion of separation of the two wings of this uniparty, they pretty much handed it. They pretty much handed the off-year elections and the midterms to the Democrats. So that'll just, like I said before in other previous videos, that's just going to lock up the government for the following 2 years. From 2026, when they lose the midterms, to 2028, the government's going to be locked up. And then, might have more shutdowns because there's going to be more stopgaps, government funding periods where, they have to pass bills to fund the government. And there's going to be more periods like this. And once the left has the House again, it's going to be even more of a seized artificial civil war within the government, where the right can act like they can blame everything on the left, slowing up their agenda, and the left can act like, look, the right is in power and we're being mistreated and they don't care about us, and with the same thing they've been doing. It's the same thing over and over again. They just repackage it. And then you look at places like, it's not just the votes for like governors and different elected officials, like mayors, like in New York and stuff. It's not just that. I mean, this all means something. When you get a governor, governors and attorney generals control the way elections are conducted. So if you get a governor elected and an attorney general elected, and they're left wing or whatever, they're gonna, the way they conduct the election for that state in the next election cycle will probably favor the left. So you have that on one level. You have elections being controlled in that way, and people being used as higher level pawns in that way, being governors or attorney generals or what have you. And then you have also all the bills and the propositions that are being voted on throughout the different states, whether you raise or lower taxes or different projects in your state or your local municipality. But in California, there was supposed to be a collective committee in California on the regulation of the congressional map. And for people that don't know, you have districts, congressional districts that are based on population throughout the country. Every state has a certain amount of districts, and California has the most because it has the greatest population, so they have the most congressional districts. So they had Prop 50, which was a new congressional map that would give Democrats 5 more congressional seats. First of all, this is why the illegal immigrants, this is why this is an issue. Because illegal immigrants, they can't vote in elections, but they count on the census. So every time if you like, you're in California where you have the most illegal immigrants of any state, every time they get counted in the census, all the illegal immigrants, that ups the population of a district. And then if you have so much population, then that district might have to get split into 2 because your population is so great. Now you qualify to have multiple districts now. So that's why California has so many districts, because they have the most people, but on top of that, they have a lot of illegal immigrants, like millions of illegal immigrants, and millions of anchor babies off of those illegal immigrants. So that allows them to have such a large number of congressional districts. The maps themselves are, the congressional map, the way that the districts are distributed and broken down, is supposed to be regulated by like a commission. In 2008, they established a commission in California, or maybe it was nationwide. I know in California they do it. They had a like an independent commission for the state that regulates the congressional map, because otherwise then you get gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is when they create zones that make it to where, typically when gerrymandering was introduced to suppress the black vote, or the so-called black people vote. So like, black people would live in a certain district, and then they would cut a line down the middle of their population to where they couldn't collectivize as a people. So they would cut a line, they would gerrymander an area to where black people's community would get cut in half, and they couldn't collectivize and all vote to control their district or their community, their area. So gerrymandering has, since evolved for many states, for many different persuasions, but it's something that hasn't gone away. And so this basically is a massive this is basically like kind of like a legal gerrymandering, where they're just allowed to carve up the state in a different way. And this has only been done supposedly as in a response to Texas, because Texas did the same thing this year. They recarved up their congressional map so they could give Republicans 5 more House seats, because you only have 435 House seats. So it's not like senators where it's only 2 senators per state, regardless of the state. You could be Rhode Island, you could be Maine, you could be Hawaii, California, North Dakota. They all got 2 senators, no matter the population or the size of the state. Congressional districts are determined by, the population. And if you got a lot of illegal immigrants, obviously, then you can control the congressional map, and you can control the House. And the House is what controls the money. They control the purse, because all legislation has to get passed in the House first. I mean, you can fly a bill from the Senate to the House, but everything has to get ran through the House one way or another. So from the House, typically the typical order of a bill becoming law is from the House to the Senate to the president's desk, and then it becomes law. And if it's not legal, then the Supreme Court could potentially reject it, and then the process would start over again. And if a bill gets vetoed by the president, then the Senate and the Congress can override the president if they have a supermajority. So these types of non-election years, or these off-election years, they create like alley-oops, to where a political party can set themselves up into the future. Even though they're supposedly out of power now, they're setting themselves to be in power into the future. So the left is setting itself to be in power. Like this Proposition 50, it basically gerrymanders California. And so it gives the Democrats a greater chance of taking the House in 2026 and seizing, basically blocking the government from functioning at all, because nothing will get passed once they get the House back. It'll be completely, everything will be, every time any these stopgap periods come up, it's going to be government shutdowns. It's not going to be, nothing will smoothly pass. So, but this is a temporary override of gerrymandering. The new map bypasses the independent commission until 2030, after which normal procedures resume. What did they know? Why are they doing this through 2030? Because they know they got the elections in 2026, the midterms, and then you got the off-year elections in 27 and 29, and then obviously you got the major elections in 2028, and then the midterms again in 2030. So I think they're all, pretty much hedging. They have like I think it's a lot of short-sightedness when it comes to politics in general. A lot of people don't really see the bigger agendas. I don't think they really. I think they just live in their own isolated shit. Politicians are oblivious. A lot of them are oblivious. They're very insulated people, and typically very decadent people. So I don't think they really even understand what the fuck's going on. They just think of it like, oh, we can get power for 2 years. I can keep my job, and I can keep doing insider trading for 2 to 6 more years. Let's work on that. That's kind of where they're at. Their job is more so to get reelected. Their job is not to do what the position entails, actually, because the Constitution and the layout of the country already existed before the colonists ever got here. So that's kind of that, I guess. That's like the off-election year news. I mean, that's what it was. They wanted to rile up their base. They got to stoke their base. It's not much different. It's an off year, so it's not like a George Floyd type shit. You know what I mean? It's not like that type of shit. They just riled their base up. They delayed food stamps. Supposedly there's going to be like a partial payment of food stamps, like half of it. They probably, you probably get it by Thanksgiving, like a half payment, and then if they get it passed in that amount of time, then you'll get, on December 1st, people will get the half that they missed and December's payment as well. So that's probably what will happen. I mean, a lot of this shit's probably going to pass because at this point, the political ends have been met. The left already got, the Uniparty already got what it wanted. It set up the left to become in power by 2026, 2028, and into 2030. And, the right sat on its hands and completely supported Israel and just ignored its base because it doesn't care about its base or its voters, because elections are bought, they're selections. So it's not, it's really, they're not against each other in DC. They like to not be in power. They like to not be the ruling majority political power. If you're the Republicans and you have power, then you have to take accountability, and they hate that. Then you're more likely to lose your job if you're the regime that's in power. Because if things go bad, the next election cycle, you're probably out. But if you're seated and you're the minority political party, then you just get to blame everything on the other side, and then you get your career extended another 2 to 4 to 6 years or whatever. Just because you say like, if we were in power, we would do this. And then people believe in that bullshit. And then you stick around and collect some checks and do some insider trading and establish your criminal syndicates. So, that's it, man. We reached the longest, or the most times that a government shutdown has went to vote. There's been 14 votes. And every time they've been voted down to not reopen the government. So we broke that record. And I think the longest shutdown of all time will be broken by Friday. And they were talking about the air traffic controllers were saying like if they miss another week of pay, it's going to be even crazier. So I mean, I don't think it's a good look one way or another. That the air traffic controller news is maybe worse than the SNAP news, because it's just the freedom of travel being inhibited. And then also, on top of that, you had that plane crash today. I mean, you had that little tapping of the planes on the tarmac a couple of days ago, but a UPS flight crashed shortly after takeoff from Louisville, Kentucky, killing at least 7 people, injuring 11 others. The MD-11 cargo plane erupted into a massive fireball, marking the deadliest crash in UPS Airlines history. Destination Hawaii. Everybody else about to get their shit, their Amazon shit in Hawaii. You about to take that L right now. 3 crew members on board dead. 4 ground fatalities. That would suck. A UPS plane just fall in your fucking neck. That'd be crazy. 11 ground injuries confirmed. Imagine surviving. Maybe worse. There's eyewitness and video. The plane appeared to take off with fire on one wing, then exploded on impact. Fireball and smoke, shelter in place orders. FAA investigation and response. FAA and NTSB. These motherfuckers, the National Transport Safety Board, they're all working without pay right now. What kind of investigation they gonna do if they ain't getting paid? Imagine if somebody's like, yo, we got this plane crash. It's fucking the worst one in history for a cargo plane. We want you to investigate, but we ain't gonna pay you nothing. I wonder if they're gonna get to the bottom of it, bro. But yeah. Oh no, today they did break the record. Today shutdown 36. I thought the 6th of November was the shutdown day. Whatever. Today is shutdown day 36, so we broke the record today. The federal government shutdown has left 13,000 air traffic controllers and 50,000 TSA officers working without pay. Flight disruptions over the weekend included 16,700 flights being delayed, 2,282 canceled due to controller absences and fatigue. Ugh, imagine working OT in your area. It's life and death. It's not like you're on a conveyor belt at Amazon. Phoenix Sky Harbor ordered they grounded all their flights between 8 to noon. Denver was also 4 hours, 6 to 10 p.m. Newark Liberty grounded for 4 hours. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned of mass chaos in U.S. airspace if controllers miss a second paycheck next week. If you bring us to a week from today, you will see mass chaos. You will see mass flight delays. FAA alert system triggered at multiple airports, including Nashville, Jacksonville, Austin, and Denver, indicating unsafe staffing levels. Not a good look, man. I think, though, after the election, I really think that, like, this was more of like a... Could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I think this was more of like they wanted to get them off your elections done, and they got that at this point. And I think now they'll probably come around. They beat the record. They got to show people like, look, we run shit, we control you, we control the food in your mouth. Controllers are reporting immense stress and fatigue, raising safety concerns, holiday travel risks. Experts warn that Thanksgiving travel could be severely disrupted if shutdown continues. I wonder how many people are just not flying too, just because they know this is fuckery. And it's still having problems, which is wild. Let me see which airports are most affected. The U.S. airports most affected are Atlanta, Newark, Denver, Nashville, Jacksonville, Austin, and Phoenix. Severe delays because of high traffic volume. And I know these people know that the shutdown's going on, and the traffic volume, I mean, it's not... People, I guess a lot of people trying to get through probably before it gets worse, too, as well, because they know there's really... there's no end in sight unless... It's really up to the left. If they're going to use this as more gas, I feel like at this point it would be more counterproductive for them, because it would look even more stubborn on their part. I think people, if you let it keep going, then people would realize the shutdown is happening because the left is playing games, or that apparatus of the Uniparty is playing games. So I think that the shutdown probably will end within the next week or so. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's got to be killing airlines too, all the connections getting missed. People got to be taking crazy L's. I wonder how that balances out. Because if the planes are grounded, I guess they're not going nowhere. You know what I mean? You're not spending the fuel, but you're probably comping all these people. Or maybe not. Maybe just like, look, blame your government, bro. It's not our fault. So, yeah, I mean, that's the typical news, I guess, right now. Some of the typical news. Let me go back to some obscure stories that we had here. Let's see. There's an Afghanistan earthquake. Eastern Afghanistan causing widespread damage. No one gives a fuck. Israeli news. Former top military lawyer detained over leaked video tied to alleged abuse. Oh yeah, the guy they was raping and abusing the Palestinian prisoners. This guy was like lobbying to the government like you shouldn't, like, you know what I mean, y'all should be riding with me. That's the crazy shit, bro. Isn't that like, I know that Jews don't use the word haram, but Hamas is the word for violence in Hebrew. So, I mean, obviously a lot of the Semitic languages, they share cognate, you know, the words share cognates, so the roots are the same for a lot of them. So I'm like, what is it with you raping motherfucking dudes? Like, that, isn't that still going against the commandments? The mitzvahs? Doesn't that go against that? Because that's still considered like fornication, right? I mean, like sodomy, fornication, anything. Triple ancient biblical pause on that. Turkey and Hamas. Turkey's long-standing ties with Hamas helped broker a ceasefire deal with Israel, earning praise from President Trump. I don't know, man. It's crazy that because Turkey and Hamas, right, you gotta think of it like they all used to be one country. They all used to be Ottoman Empire. You'd think they'd be riding with Palestine. I mean, they always talk shit. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, he'd be always talking shit about Israel, but they never do nothing. You know what I mean? Because this country is not in the best shape. And they got a lot to cover up in Turkey, honestly. I wonder how much time they spend covering up the real history of Edom and Rome. But, yeah. It seems like more fuckery. Interstellar comet, 3I Atlas. Scientists are tracking a strange comet from outside our solar system. They say that the comet has been picking up speed. I don't know if it's part of Project Bluebeam. I don't know if it's just a comet that people didn't know about or weren't told about. I don't know if it's on some coherent shit where parallel lives is about to merge. Yep. Trump endorsed Cuomo for New York mayor and threatened to cut funding to New York if Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani wins. Well, Mamdani won, bro. So you shouldn't have said shit. You endorsing Cuomo probably did not help him. Probably should just shut the fuck up if you really wanted him to win. You know what I mean? Because it's two Democrats. Sliwa or whatever was never going to win. He's a Republican. It's a Democrat city. When's the last time was Giuliani a Republican? That was the thing with Trump. You know what I mean? Why I never trusted Trump or voted for him. I never voted in my life. In 2016, I was not even thinking like that. 2020, I was more aware of what was like the ins and outs of what was going on with Trump. But I still would never vote for him because Giuliani was one of his lawyers. You know what I mean? I gotta look at this shit right now. Was Giuliani a Democrat mayor? No, he's Republican mayor. Okay, so that was probably the last Republican mayor of New York. Giuliani had to stop him for shit. So a lot of crime went down. They probably had a lot of people just getting locked up, though, because they was preemptively stopping and frisking people and pretty much illegal search and seizure, but probably did bring the crime down. But Giuliani was Trump's lawyer throughout 2020, or one of them. He had a bunch of lawyers, right? So Giuliani, he was always running around with Trump, right? And so I mean, what you've had 24 years of Democrat mayors there, probably, or independents. But Giuliani, if you look at like the movie or the documentary Loose Change Final Cut, Giuliani was forewarned about the towers being blown up, because when the first plane hit, they went down there. He was the mayor of New York at the time, right? Because he became mayor, or his last year was 2001. So like, the elections was probably November 2001. He was the mayor for 2 more months after 9/11, or what, I don't know when they take office exactly, but he got voted out 2 months after 9/11 happened. But the first plane hits the towers. Giuliani goes to ground zero, basically right out front of the towers, and they set up shop for people that was injured and to help people, whatever. And the mayor, he's down there. Somehow he got walkie-talkied. Somebody told him to leave and move from that area. And when he got pressed on it, this footage, I wonder if it's still out there, but Loose Change Final Cut, it's probably on BitChute, it might be on Rumble. Trying to think of some other web hosting or video hosting sites, but I know it's probably on BitChute and Rumble. But he got pressed on it. He got pressed on the fact that he had prior knowledge to the fact that the buildings was going to come down. You know what I mean? Like, his initial response was to go up to the buildings, and then he was one of the first people to leave, and he's the mayor. So he already had foreknowledge, and they asked him in the testimonies in the 9/11 Commission, like, about the walkie-talkies or whatever, and then, he just bullshitted through it, and dudes in the crowd was like, "Yo, you knew about this shit." I guess people who had family, they were like, "Yo, you knew about this shit. You a murderer." And I just remember that, and so like, I just could never fuck with Trump. I never voted in my life, and I never will vote in my life. But like, his association with Giuliani, keeping Giuliani so close, had me like, yo, Giuliani has never been cool, bro. If you was hustling, or you had people in the streets, and if you from the East Coast, you know what I mean? Like, you definitely didn't fuck with Giuliani. And if you have family members doing, you know what I mean? You definitely not, for those reasons. And then 9/11 happens, and I don't think he's smart enough to be a guy that you tell weeks in advance. I mean, you tell him like an hour in advance, like, yo, hour, you know, maybe like, yo, the buildings are going to get blown up. You need to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? So he had prior knowledge. He didn't warn people. He let the firefighters continue to go up the steps, because he could have told them, like, yo, stop, come back down, and they would have had time to not get murdered. But if he did that, then he would have had to tell why or how he knew. So, when Trump was running around with him, I was just like, yeah, I know you know about this shit. There's no way that you don't know. Y'all all in the club. I'm sure you fucking know about these slimeball moves. So that was the last Republican mayor. He was a scumbag. So does it really matter, left or right, or socialist, communist, motherfucking Mom Donnie? Does it really matter? It's going to make New York worse and worse. I mean, that's what's been happening. That's what's been happening since the reset. You know what I mean? Since the urban, and then the urban renewal, Then they knocked all the old buildings down and got rid of all the Gilded Age buildings. And New York just looks worse and worse. It smells worse and worse. It's a horrible environment, more and more every day. And, you used to be a probably the greatest city on earth. And it's still probably one of them, because cities are all becoming more trash, but, it's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, my fucking... My AI just shit the bed on me. Yeah, so that's that on that. Yeah, I know. The other news that I've seen, everybody just talking about Fuentes and Tucker Carlson still. The Heritage Foundation, one of the biggest backers of Carlson, they were like, we apologize and all of this shit now for him having Fuentes on. At first he was riding with him, but then he got the call from the Tiny Hats and yeah, I don't know. The whole shit is crazy. The whole shit is at the same time theater because they all lame. Everybody involved is lame. And I hate to be like that, but they're lame. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad that Fuentes is there to move the needle a little bit, but it's only so far it can go through that vessel. You know what I mean? We're only going to get diet truth out of that vessel. Today's AI headlines. Spotlight major partnerships and product launches while the stock market shows mixed signals with tech volatility and investor caution. OpenAI and Amazon Web Services entered a multi-year $38 billion partnership to scale AI infrastructure using hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA GPUs. Again, NVIDIA is the most wealthy country, basically is the most wealthy company on earth is NVIDIA. Which basically here, $38 billion deal, it's not, that's, you know, NVIDIA is worth $5 trillion, $38 billion is, what is that, 5,000 billions? So, you know, 38 billion ain't like crazy for their bottom line, but this is more so a continuation of the merger, the vertical integration of government and tech. You know what I mean? Because they're all one, whether it be the telecommunications, Amazon, you know, it's all the government. It's like when the January 6th lie happened, you know what I mean? Parler was another app, you know, social media app, and they got shut down because the way the politics was swinging, it was swinging left at that time a little bit, and Bezos was able to be more brazenly left. Bezos owns the Washington Post, which is a left-wing outlet. He's more left-leaning, but he just sways wherever the wind takes him to where he can have his advantages. So, like, Parler got shut down because Amazon refused to host them anymore. So they weren't able to find a big enough server farm at the right price to be able to continue the app. So the app basically became defunct. And, you know, it's basically another example of the government and big tech being one thing. And OpenAI, Amazon Web Services, and NVIDIA going in on this, you know, they're scaling up AI infrastructure. It's basically just one company with a bunch of different shell companies. AMD gains ground in AI hardware. AMD is gaining traction in the AI race after announcing a deal with OpenAI to deliver 6 gigawatts of computing power. This signals a shift in perception, with AMD now seen as a viable alternative to NVIDIA for generative AI workloads. They'll get bought up, bro. These motherfuckers got $5 trillion. They will buy AMD. You know what I mean? That's what will happen. It's never gonna be. I mean, they might make it look, again, it's like Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. They all buy each other's stocks. It's all one company. They just got different names. Like Coca-Cola owns Chipotle. You go into Chipotle, you going into Coca-Cola, basically. You going into Whole Foods, you basically going into Amazon if it was a grocery store. It's all the same company. Palantir's earnings surge. Palantir Technologies reported strong Q3 results driven by demand for its AI defense platform. Despite this, its stock dipped due to investor profit taking and broader market jitters. So people pull their money out. You know, it might be a sign of things to come, but I think that it's probably a pump and dump thing. So they had strong results. People got demand for the defense platforms because, you know, they're using that shit. They're exhibiting what Palantir can do in Gaza, you know, and in Ukraine. So if you're in, say you're in Sudan or in one of these civil wars or wars around the world, you know, you might want in on that. So it brings the stock up, and then people pull out their money here and there. But I think that ultimately, like I said, Palantir is the one ring to rule them all. It's the capstone on AI. It's the looking glass. Once they get all the other ones infrastructure set up, and they can get the energy production set up to feed the AI, and then they're gonna put Palantir right on the cap of the pyramid of the AI. It'll be a looking glass. NASDAQ up 0.5%, S&P up 0.02, Dow Jones down 0.5%. Whatever. None of it means anything really unless you really on this shit. Palantir shares fell 7% despite beating earnings expectations, contributing to a tech-led dip in S&P 500 NASDAQ futures. They might just be driving that shit down to buy it up later. Goldman Sachs warning CEO David Solomon. Oh, his last name is Solomon, and he's the CEO of a place called Goldman Sachs. Socks probably again being a reference to Saxon and Scythian, because Saka is what they call Scythians and then became Saxon. And anything with the man in his name, like my man Jurassic Lyres would say, he's got the man in his name. David Solomon cautioned that markets could drop 20% over the next 2 years, citing macroeconomic uncertainty. Bitch, it ain't no, what is really certain at this point, that this shit is all transitioning into greater slavery. Nifty 50 and Sensex open lower today, tracking global cues. Gift Nifty indicated a slight discount, suggesting cautious sentiment. Another thing that happened today, I guess, was the Dick Cheney shit. I don't know if anybody ever seen that. If they ever seen the movie Vice, they might know a little something about Dick Cheney. I think that what's my man's name? The dude from American Psycho. What's his name? The dude from The Prestige. Oh, I know his name. But the Batman. Whatever. Anyway, he plays Dick Cheney in the movie Vice. And it's a decent movie. It shows the psychopathy of Dick Cheney and his family. And the way that they try to finagle the system and play the system to where they can just set different precedents and continue to abuse people around the world and at home. So yeah, Dick Cheney was obviously a scumbag, right? Died today. I wouldn't say the world's a better place because he had a daughter, and his daughter's probably going to keep that shit going. You know what I mean? I think she might have had a kid or 3. I don't know. They're all scumbags. Dick Cheney killed a dude and got off. And that's just like the smallest of his crimes. That's the crazy thing. Like killing a dude supposedly accidentally and then not doing any jail time. And then that's the best worst thing you've done. Dick Cheney pretty much was the president during George W. Bush's terms. He was the senior to Bush. He was older. And he just was bullying Bush, man. Bush wasn't in control, man. Dick Cheney was the real president. So Dick Cheney died today, man. And obviously at the latter part of his years, he had voted for Biden and went that way, you know what I mean? I think, again, that was more so the Uniparty working with itself there. When you get guys like Dick Cheney and certain guys and his daughter aligning with Biden and them, that's more so to make you think like, oh, if these scumbags, because they know some people have a memory, and they're like, oh, if these scumbags want to go this direction, then I should go opposite. And people only thinking like 2 steps ahead, like fucking checkers players. And so like, it's so many levels of playing people. And I think that's what people get used for later in their political lives. Because they represent a generation, and certain generations remember them. Whether they're a scumbag or a hero, they can use that to their advantage, you know what I mean? Because if you got the scumbags all going in one direction, it signals to people like, oh, we'll go away from that direction. And then you go right and continue into the trap, you know? And you vote for Trump, or you support Trump, and you know what I mean? And I can never really support Trump because of, again, like the writing on the wall with his donors, you know what I mean, who funded him. Sheldon Adelson, Miriam Adelson, APAC obviously, and J Street. They all, they had such a control on him that there's no way, like, as much as you want to believe the rhetoric, you owe them. You don't owe us shit, really. In your mind, I know you feel like you owe them. So, I feel like I never really was big on trusting Trump. So a lot of ways I couldn't be scammed the same. But what was I gonna say? To go back into Dick Cheney, the scumbag that they used up until his death. Let me get the exact details on this. This dude did not have a heartbeat. I'm not even joking. Dick Cheney did not have a heartbeat. I'm going to get the exact details on that. But it just shows you how people can either die in birth or die in the womb or, have like near-death experiences where they actually kind of get disjointed from their own body, and then a walk-in or a false self controls their body for the duration. Yes, Dick Cheney lived for nearly 2 years without a heartbeat after receiving a mechanical heart pump. Bruh, he didn't have a heartbeat. Cheney suffered 5 heart attacks starting at age 37. That is heartworm. That's heartworm, bro. Nature was trying to take him out and make the world a better place. He had an LVAD implant, received a left ventricle assist device. That's LVAD. A mechanical pump that helps circulate blood but doesn't produce a pulse. This meant he had no heartbeat during that time. He had no heartbeat and pulse for 2 years and was still alive. Alive. That's crazy. The LVAD kept him alive until he received a heart transplant, restoring his normal heartbeat. And that probably just kept the other person's spirit trapped in his body, and their heartbeat was beating in him. And he was just a husk. It's crazy, right? When you think about it, this dude was dead for 2 years. He had no pulse. You just walk up on him and taking a nap, you like, oh, he's a goner, bro. No. He been gone. He's not going. He's not a goner. He's been gone. Continuous flow versus pulsatile flow. Traditional hearts pump blood in pulses. LVADs use continuous flow, which means blood moves steadily through the body. Patients with LVADs often don't have a detectable pulse or blood pressure in the usual way, requiring special equipment and care. His openness about living without a heartbeat helped raise awareness of advanced heart failure treatments. Bro, that's fucking insane. This guy didn't have a heart. Literally, bro. I mean, you had 1 million dead Iraqis because when they destroyed Iraq's infrastructure, I mean, you just had gangs taking over different sections of the country, and it caused a lot of people to get slaughtered on top of America coming in, bombing the shit out of all the ancient Tartarian shit or mythology shit, what have you. Let's see what else I want to get into. The Hurricane Melissa caused losses equal to 30% of Jamaica's GDP. Maybe they wanted something out of Jamaica. Battle for Pokrovsk intensifies. Fighting escalated in eastern Ukraine with Russian and Ukraine forces clashing over strategic control. It's probably the last flurry until the shit freezes over. I don't know. He might go on a large offensive before everything freezes over out there in Ukraine. Israel detains former military lawyer, like I said, yeah. Democrats sweep key races, win New York, New Jersey, Virginia. Yeah, we went through all of this. See, I got a question in there. I'll look at that in a second. Some of the most underreported news stories today. Near the Christian genocide. I heard Trump say they was killing, or no, I heard Alex Jones say they was killing like hundreds of thousands in Nigeria, bro. It was like 60,000 in the last 25 years. Since, I think, it was only like 60,000 though. Wasn't no hundreds of thousands. Still wrong, don't get me wrong, but, you know, what was it? Probably at least 60,000 Gazans in 2 years. Southeast Asian political shifts. Myanmar's military junta is quietly losing control in rural regions, with local resistant movements gaining ground. The shift could reshape regional power dynamics, but remains largely ignored in Western media. Yeah, you don't ever hear about that type of shit until this motherfuckers getting their heads chopped off and their asses blown out in the streets. Pause, like Gaddafi. Global media coverage gap. A growing disconnect exists between what global outlets report and what U.S. audiences see. Stories about environmental collapse in Madagascar, tech censorship in Vietnam, and economic instability in Tunisia are being sidelined. Well, you're not hearing about Madagascar for one reason or another. I don't really know the ins and outs about Madagascar, but you're getting the tech censorship in Vietnam because they had the digital ID shit, and like 80-something million people refused out of the 110 or whatever, 102 million people in Vietnam. So 80% of the people refuse to get digital IDs, and you're probably getting tech censorship because they probably can't access their accounts, they can't access their bank accounts or their online accounts, and it just was a nice testing ground. Guess it's like kind of like another Vietnam War, really. It's just digital. Economic instability in Tunisia. I mean, I've been in Tunisia. I don't know when they could ever really be stable. You know what I mean? They don't want nothing in that area ever really being prosperous. It's too close to the fake tiny hat land. Redacted election data. Some independent outlets claim that key voter turnout data from the recent U.S. election has been redacted or delayed in publication, raising transparency concern. Media bias. Ground News reports that stories like Kamala Harris's comments on Biden's fitness for a second term and J.D. Vance's controversial Halloween post were disproportionately covered by right-leaning outlets with zero coverage on the left. Yeah, I mean, that's what you get. They use the sensationalism however they gotta spin it to where, you know what I mean, whatever they can do to get some cover from what they really want to carry out. Is it just me, or does Jack Smith look like Adam 22 if he didn't do porn? Jack Smith is Adam 22's dad, yo. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, Trump threatens to keep SNAP benefits frozen until Democrats end shutdown. Why would he inflame that? Let's see exactly what he said. I know he's talking about ending the filibuster, but bro, I mean, you end the filibuster, bro. Like I said the last episode, they end the filibuster, then the next regime, when they come in, when the left comes in, they're just gonna be able to railroad everything through. So, and anything you've done, they can just undo immediately, and then we'll just have a bunch of drastic changes in the society, and then people will stop following the rules altogether because it's too drastic. President Trump publicly threatened to withhold SNAP benefits during the ongoing government shutdown, but the White House later clarified that benefits would still be paid due to court orders. I don't know how a district court could have precedence or standing over the executive branch. You think that would have to automatically go to Supreme Court, but whatever, because I mean it's a interstate thing. It's a very national thing. Whatever though. Again, it's always like they got to do what they got to do to shift blame and then to foist up people. Truth Social post today. Trump posted, SNAP benefits will be given only when the radical left opens up the government. They can't pay it out with the emergency funds anyway. Everybody gonna just get like $99 or something. Court orders override threat. Despite Trump's statements, federal judges ordered the USDA to continue issuing SNAP payments, and the administration confirmed it would comply using contingency funds. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna hit up all my SNAP homies and see what's up with that. White House walked back. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who's a dummy, clarified that Trump's post was... But it's funny how she's a dummy, but she's somehow less dumb than the dyke bitch that was working for Biden. The USDA is still distributing benefits, albeit with delays in partial funding. $1.4 million SNAP beneficiaries in Michigan alone. 1.4 million? How many people are even in Michigan? It's 10 million. 1 out of every 10 per people is on SNAP. I guess it's 1 out of 8 nationwide, so. Let's see. Yeah, fucking AI said undocumented immigrants are not eligible for SNAP, but 1.5 non-citizen recipients get SNAP. What the fuck's that mean? Undocumented individuals, they get aid through household-based benefits. That's like if you got your cousin lives here, she's American, or got a green card, and you live with her, and you illegal. She claimed, like, I live here with this many people in the house, and then her SNAP benefits goes up. It's like any chick you know that got, like, multiple kids. They get more food stamps than just an individual, because they claim the kids, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. They get their SNAP that way. Yep. Look at today's music news. Tupac, former Machiavelli. Anybody knows what I'm talking about? Let's look at today's music news. Sting to headline Super Bowl pregame show. Who gives a fuck? Diddy faces new charges. Photos from jail show Diddy's deteriorating condition as he faces additional legal trouble. Details remain sparse, but are stirring industry concern. Is there a rap song in the top 40 yet? Okay, Megan Thee Stallion made it with 38, number 38. Woo, rap's saving rap, huh, Meg Thee Stallion? Get the fuck out of here. Rap is fucking toast, bro. That's right. And if you got this many syllables in your fucking name, you just, come on. It's ridiculous. Let's see what else we got. I'm gonna check this question that you got there for me. Topic. What do you think about Hitler? The 6 million doesn't make sense, and overall the history we are getting fed is flooded with lies by alternative sources like Europa. The last battle are occupied by Stu Peters, paint Hitler as a, I don't think they... I mean, I think that he was an intelligent individual. I think he was on drugs, though, and that could fuck you up. I mean... You've seen him rocking back and forth at the Olympics. looking like he was on some type of amphetamines. So I mean, he was smart. He's like a smart dumb dude, I guess, in that way. Like, if I had that much responsibility, I'm getting even more sober and more nervous that people about to murk me, and you know what I mean. I would not. I don't know. If you listen to his speeches in AI with the translator, it tells a different story than what we've been told. Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily a villain, and I think he might have just went to Argentina. I don't know if he offed himself, really. How would he really know? Him or Ava Brown. So I think he probably went to Argentina, or most likely Argentina. Or he could have went somewhere else, but I think Argentina is a better, it's more likely because a lot of it is, you got a lot of mountains and places that you can hide a person. And there's a decent amount of German immigrants already there. And it's a lot of immigrants in general. I mean, Argentinians, it's like mostly Italian. You know what I mean? Like, they're not even they speak Spanish, but a lot of them is Italian. It's only like 5 million people in the country. So I think having that much land, only having a small population, and having mountainous buffers that you can hide a person in, I think that's probably where he went. I mean, that's my opinion. I just don't. I think that all wars are theater. It's a theater of war, is what they say. It's not my thoughts. It's what it's called. So it's kind of what I feel about it. I don't really. I don't know. I mean, they gotta have a bad guy. You gotta blame shit on somebody. You can't just end the war and there not be repercussions. You know what I mean? Like, somebody had to. Like, I seen somebody post like Germany lost, but the Nazis didn't, or some shit like that. And I kind of get that sentiment. Obviously because of Operation Paperclip, and how through Operation Paperclip is essentially kind of like a merger of the U.S., Germany, and Russia. Because the scientists got divided between Russia, the German scientists got divided between Russia and America. And that's who started their space and nuclear missile programs. So I just feel like there's no separation. So I think a lot of it is just people actually really get killed, you know what I mean? Because war, they set up an environment that would make it more likely that people would hurt each other. And then it just snowballs and makes it worse. And so I think, World War II is a stage. And the first thing to die in war is the truth. And the war has kind of been ongoing. Because like the Austrian painter said, the only war ever is between Jays and Gentiles. So it's true at a core level is America is the real Israel. The main war is, this is the front line. The aboriginal to America is the original Jay or original Israelite. So, I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know how much, I think a lot of them know, about the truth of the races and stuff. Who knows? But I think they do. I think him picking a West Asian symbol and being big on the Iranian thing or the Aryan thing, I think that's kind of leads to the idea that he knew a lot more than what they tell you or want to give him credit for. So I say at least that. I don't think they're necessarily great guys. I think he's better than who was our president, Roosevelt or something at the time. Jesse Owens said that Hitler treated him with greater respect than his own president. So let's see sports news. Ooh, Sauce Gardner got traded from the Jets to the Colts. The Colts is even better. Sauce Gardner, one of the best DBs in the league, bro. That's crazy. I didn't even know about that. I don't really keep up with the league like that, but that's crazy as fuck, bro. And they try to make gambling legal in Utah because you got enough Native Americans or faking Americans to where you get some casinos out that bitch. But yeah, I think it's kind of a slow news day. Let me check what else they had on here. I gotta finish that Mind Unveiled joint that he did the hymn breakdown. See what's up with that. I'll be back tomorrow because I have more time to set up for the day. Today I just was putting a deck together. It's really nice. I have some pictures soon. Yeah, I know everybody talking about this shit. I really feel like no one should take Mark Levin seriously. It's crazy that we take Nick Fuentes as serious as we do. We just all waiting for somebody actual serious to come around. But I was just thinking about it, like, if you was to approach a politician or somebody like that, it would be... I'm watching footage of that plane blow up. That's crazy. If you were to approach a politician, a high-level politician, and be like, yo, this is the real Israelites, America is the original old world, then, you know, they're going to just laugh at you and be disrespectful. I think maybe even more so if they actually do know. If they don't know, they might just be stunned and be like, this guy's fucking stupid. Yeah, I seen a sports book in Michigan, right? They're trying to change the laws in Michigan. I mean, it's all fixed, man. This shit is all a fix, man. I stay away from it as much as I can. I think that's the only thing, like, me and my pops, like, since I was trying to play for it when I was a child, I didn't know it was fake. One of the things that we had together was watching the games together. So it's a tough habit to break, you know what I mean? I just like hanging out with him, though. It's not really about the game. I don't give a fuck about the outcome. But I gotta, like, not be too harsh about the fact that I don't give a fuck so that he don't feel like I'm attacking our relationship, you know? So, it's funny. It's funny going into a process of looking at the trees and forgetting about the forest on purpose, though. Pretty fucking crazy. Let me see, how bad is the economy really? Let's see if AI will lie to me. Growth is modest and markets are rallying, but lower income households are under severe pressure from rising costs, job instability, and benefit disruptions. Okay. The way that they gauge unemployment is ridiculous. If you haven't had a job for 5 years, they don't even count you. If you're not looking for work, they don't count you. What is the current unemployment rate? 4.3%? That's a fucking lie. You telling me out of 100 Americans, only 4 of them don't have a job? It's a fucking lie. If 1 out of 8 is on food stamps, more than 4 out of 100 are unemployed. If the unemployment aggregate was fielded honestly, what would the figure actually be? If the unemployment was measured more holistically, the true unemployment rate would be around 25%. Far higher than the official 4.3 reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The true unemployment rate, according to AI, is 25%. Includes those without full-time work or discouraged workers. Even if someone works 10 hours a week, they're considered employed by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is crazy. Low-wage jobs include a person earning $12,000 a year is still employed, even if they can't meet basic living costs. Those who stop looking for work aren't counted in labor force at all. The actual unemployment is 25%. What is the actual inflation rate? Inflation is only 3%. 3% from last month, maybe. Whatever that was. If inflation was measured honestly, how bad would it be really rated? And how bad would it be in 10 years? If inflation was measured using older methods from the 80s, the current rate would be closer to 10%, not the official 3%. Over the next 10 years, if current trends continue, real inflation could average 5 to 8% annually, significantly eroding purchase power. 5 to 8% each year. That means every year, whatever you're buying, it has a 5 to 8% increase on the price. And if it's already 10% now, 5 to 8% on, it's in 10 years, we're talking about everything at least quintupling in price. People better start growing their own shit now, man. I should have been growing fruit trees when I first moved in, man. I was scared to be successful, I guess. But, yeah. Should have been doing that. Because it's not looking good, man. It really isn't looking good. Like I think I already talked about this, but I mean, like, some places you can't even DoorDash because there's too many drivers per DoorDash request. So DoorDash is sewn up in a lot of places. Why the gap in inflation measurement exists. Substitution bias. CPI assumes consumers switch to cheaper goods, lowering reported inflation. Hedonic adjustments. Quality improvements reduce price impact, e.g. better phones equals less inflation. Rent versus ownership. CPI uses owner's equivalent rent, not actual home prices. So if you add the actual home prices into inflation, inflation is at least 10%. Every house is at least 10% more than it was, pre-2020. And if it goes up 5 to 8% every year, I mean, having a house is going to be like having a Lamborghini. 10-year outlook, real inflation risk. If current monetary and fiscal policies persist, real inflation could average 5 to 8% annually. Compounding effect. At 6% annual inflation, $100 today would only be worth $54 in 2035. That's at 6% annual inflation, but it's really at 10%. I'm going to just say it one more time. At 6% annual inflation, $100 today would only be worth $54 in 10 years. I mean, if you add in AI ruining everybody's jobs and how much money they're going to have to print to stimulate the economy and to compensate for these wars, come on. What will inflation be in 5 years? $100 would probably be worth $54. I think $100 now is probably what $54 was 5 years ago. Savings erosion. Traditional savings accounts and fixed income investments may lose real value. Income growth often trails inflation, especially for lower income. They can't raise income. They can't raise your pay, your wages, because then no one will hire you. They just hire a computer. You know what I mean? Why would they pay you? If they're forced to have a higher minimum wage, then they just have less workers. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's bottom line. Underreported inflation can lead to inadequate cost of living adjustments for Social Security, pensions, and federal aid. Yeah, then they squeeze in the old people. So not only do you never get to really move out if you're a fucking Gen Zer, probably a lot of them never going to ever move out. And then if they do, they're going to be in massive debt. Or they're just going to work till they don't know who they are. And then their parents aren't going to be able to live on their own. So people will all be like living together in a frustrated way instead of like living together on some like holistic village type vibes. Let's see. Let's get the regional news before I sign off here. Ohio local ballots. Voters in Cleveland and other cities decided on school levies and tax-related measures. Whatever. The Northeast is bracing for the coldest air of the season with possible snow. It's early in the season. I don't know how they would even know that yet. South Florida elections. Reagan National Airport bomb threat. United Airlines flight was evacuated after a bomb threat, grounding all flights at Reagan National in Virginia. Not much going on, man. Flight delays in San Francisco and Seattle. Atmospheric rivers hit West Coast. 4 back-to-back storms are forecast to bring heavy rain and flooding to Northern California and Washington. Please stay up north. Atmospheric rivers is fucking crazy. Atmospheric rivers ruined my fucking house. A tree fell on my fucking house because 2 atmospheric rivers swung through. And it was so much moisture that the tree didn't have no ground to stand on no more. And that's just a couple weeks in 2023. My driveway got destroyed. Bunch of people's cribs and shit got destroyed. Trees was falling everywhere. Power lines was down. Don't want no atmospheric rivers. But it's probably just what happens when you got 1,500 dams and the Hoover Dam blocking all the moisture. You got a constipated ass weather. Weather need a damn enema. Yep. I seen they had that, I guess before this I looked out, one last thing, they had that Mandela Effect podcast shit. It's people saying they heard the episodes before they came out. I think that, I don't know if it's just them dreaming it and just remembering it, but then like trying to block it out. You know, I used to always say that shit. Like, do you remember what you did 7 Thursdays ago? It's like no different than what you dreamed last night. How much do you really remember? How much do you know? How much is a dream? And how many times is like this shit getting like copying? Like it's like getting enmeshed together to make your timeline. You don't know, like that whole last Thursday was, especially I feel like if you live my life where you could go days without seeing a person. It's like no one there to really validate that this last Tuesday was real and not a dream. You know, only person that knows is you. So if you're in a monotonous cycle, or if you're away from people, I think it could be more plausible that some of your so-called memories are dreams and some of your dreams are memories. I mean, I think that's for everybody, but sometimes it'll slip through the cracks and people will remember a dream, or a memory will be a dream, and they're remembering the future, or so-called future, from, we say parallel or whatever, however you want to look at it. Let me see. A standout Mandela Effect podcast episode this week is When Tomorrow's News Aired Today from Weird Darkness, released November 2nd. It explores a glitch that eerily predicts future events, a twist on Mandela Effect theme. You know, I really miss Patrice O'Neal. I just wanted to say that. I was listening to some of his shit today, and I was like, damn. Or yesterday, I was listening to it, and I was like, damn, the world is just not as real. I don't know if he's compatible. The Daily Show is still on, season 30? Ugh. Maybe I'll still be doing this when I'm 65, right? I'll probably have like cyborg eyes and a cyborg middle finger and shit from finger blasting hoes. Yeah, it's looking like a shitty news day, man. Let me see what else, if I can find something. Let's see what the algorithm is saying. The algorithm. So I'm gonna make that a song now. Algorithm. Some dumb shit. Randy Fine is crazy, bro. The biggest troll. The biggest troll. I see Elon Musk like, no IDs required in the New York City ballots. Don't nobody care, bro. And they gonna have this communist mayor in there, and when that he gonna be part of conducting the 2026 midterm elections in New York City, and you ain't gonna do nothing about it. It is what it is. I see people still talking about Charlie Kirk, like not trying to let this shit go. Polymarket is crazy. I don't know if y'all seen a Polymarket South Park episode, but that shit is funny as hell. Everybody talking about this New York mayor shit. I mean, I seen a video with him kicking it with the Jays with the big hats. I'm about to, if you really want to get money, bro, open up a motherfucking hat store in New York City or Tel Aviv, bro. They got all these different types of hats. They got the Russian joints that they stole. They got the little hats that they stole. They got the big brim hats that they stole. You know what I mean? All of the fashion looks worse on them, but they don't give a fuck, bro. They still gonna rock it. And you trying to get this money objectively, you need to sell hats to a certain group of people in New York. You'll never go under, no matter how communist the mayor is. But I mean, who you gonna vote for? Andrew Cuomo, the dude that killed everybody's grandma in 2020. Yep, 24 years later, you got a Muslim mayor. 24 years after 9/11. And Laura Loomer is unhinged, bro. I almost don't want to say that bitch's name. That bitch's name is Jigsaw. She's like fucking Jigsaw. Rabbi Shmuley, another fucking troll. The whole feed is just trolls, bro. And I don't even I mean, that's just the political. I feel like X is going to give you the political landscape, but That's all we got for today, man. It really ain't much going on, man. Sorry it's a flat broadcast. Hopefully there were some funny moments in there for y'all. I'm about to finish watching this Mind Unveiled. This breakdown of him and take it the fuck down. My friend Regina trying to go on a 90 hour. I will hike tomorrow. I'll see if I'm up for that. I'm trying to build a counter. That's how you know you old, you mid-30s pushing 40 when you like, do I want to leave the house or do I want to renovate my house and fucking make a counter? You know what I mean? I want to make that counter. But yeah, I think that's it, man. Other than that, you just getting more bullshit. It's the same shit. Everybody talking about the same shit. They hate Tucker Carlson. They hate the Hodge twins because they have Fuentes on recently. And it's the same old shit. It is like a symbiosis, though. I get it, man. You got the people that's like claiming to be pro-Zionist and people that's anti-Semitic or supposedly anti-Semitic. They kind of do feed off each other. Like, the Levins and Randy Fines of the world troll people, and then they generate genuine hate. And then they're like, look, people hate us. Like, no, it's not because of who you are. It's because of what you fucking do. Don't try to act like it's the same thing. What you are and who you are is not the same thing. What you are is a liar. Who you are is who you always been. But what's the best way to pick up a friend that's depressed? I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know. People don't really talk to me. My friends don't really talk to me about real shit. You know what I mean? My friends I grew up with, they don't really talk to me about that shit. I think they feel like that would be weak of them. And so I don't have a bunch of experience in trying to uplift motherfuckers. And I feel like the more strange somebody is, the easier it is to help them out. Because you just can be like, hey, look, you don't give a fuck about the way I feel. We might not see each other again or whatever. And then it's easy for you to take my advice. You know, I'm kind of like a blank face. So I really don't know, man. When you say lead by example, what can you really do, bro? You know, when it comes to people. I get a lot of people with mental illness hit me up, you know, and it's almost like I'm taking crazy pills, because I'd be like, man, there's no way I can get this many people that are clinically depressed and clinically insane. Like, this dude messaged me the other day on some other shit, former NFL player. He kept calling me. I was like, what the fuck you calling me for? I was like, what's up, man? What's the deal? Because he just kept calling, you know what I mean? I'm not answering no random shit. And I was like, are you okay? He was like, I just need a friend. And I was like, are you suicidal? And then he tried to call me again, and I didn't answer. And then he was like, I accomplished more than you. I was like, plenty of accomplished people done murked themselves, bro. You know what I'm saying? Junior Seau accomplished more than both of us in football. He killed himself. What do you mean? So, then he just tried to call me again. And he was like, I was just trying to have a friend, man. And I was like, man, this shit is crazy, bro. You was in the league for all them years and ain't get no friends. You ain't figured this shit out yet. What'd you really accomplish? The more I listen to people that go pro, I'm like, the growth in certain areas got stunted because you just could only focus on vanity and your beast, your body. And this is what kids want to follow. It's crazy. Yeah, Muay Thai and Qigong will help them, but can you breathe for them or make them kick and shit and knee at you for them? Can you make them do that? Like, you just gonna start whooping their ass and be like, breathe, motherfucker. Start, checking these kicks. Yeah, I would say vote all of them out, but it doesn't really matter who you vote for. The real votes only are there as a cover to validate the illegitimacy. So, yeah, man, I'll be back tomorrow with a more invigorated live. The AI just shit the bed on me in the middle of the shit anyway. But I think I'm only supposed to be doing an hour anyway. I don't want to run too long. I want to ramble on y'all. I want to keep it tight for your drive to work or something, or your drive back from work. I'll keep y'all updated on the news as it comes, give y'all my perspective on it. I'm not trying to spin it. I'm just trying to win it.